Come experience a different kind of party on Broadway at Frist Friday on February 27th, celebrating the Frist's bold and beautiful new exhibitions. The Impressionist Revolution, Monet to Matisse from the Dallas Museum of Art. In Her Place, Nashville artists in the 21st century. And Sista Griot, the iconoclastic art of Barbara Bullock. Enjoy interactive art chats, live music in the galleries, DJ Kenley Shea in the lobby, tastings, and a signature cocktail, art making, and more. Get your tickets today at fristartmuseum.org/FristFriday. Today on CityCast Nashville, we are answering a question that just about every single Nashvilleian has asked themselves at one point or another. Who the heck are Percy and Edwin Warner? Their names are everywhere, on parks and schools, but the story behind them is stranger than you might expect. Here to educate us all is local historian and Nashville scene columnist Betsy Phillips. Y'all get ready to learn how two wealthy brothers helped shape Nashville and how money is still influencing our city today. It's Monday, February 23rd. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson, and this is what Nashville's talking about. Betsy Phillips, welcome back to CityCast Nashville. I have never been this excited to talk about history in our city ever. Ever. Because I have so many questions.
I am so excited to be here, and I am so ready.
You probably didn't even have to prepare much because you already knew all this stuff. But to everybody at home, get ready. We're about to learn about Percy and Edwin Warner. So, Betsy, let's begin. These men, their names are all across our city, but they weren't actually born here in Nashville. What the heck?
Okay, well, their parents are from here. And then their dad had to he was not feeling well, so he had to go become mayor of Chattanooga, and they were born in Chattanooga while he was mayor and avoiding fighting for the Confederacy because he was ill.
Okay.
So then after the war, he miraculously started feeling better, and the family moved back to Nashville.
So can you set the scene for Nashville during that time? Like, what kind of city did the Warners arrive back to?
So on the one hand, we were known as a very muddy city. Our roads were terrible. They were very hard to travel on. On the other hand, we were a city filled with rich eccentrics. Like, this is around the time that Ben Allen and his wife were having seances all over town and scaring their rich friends.
What?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know this. Okay.
Yes, we have this.
I've heard we're one of the most haunted cities in the South, but...
Yeah, because Ben Allen was running around being like, are any dead people here? Come join us.
Okay, that's another episode, Betsy.
Believe me, Ben Allen, one of my favorite, like the fact that they even have a road named after him, I'm like, it's only because church-going people don't know. Otherwise, like, they would be out there protesting every day. They'd be like, you can't have this occultist with a road named after him.
Oh my gosh. So all these dead people were coming. They were the OG tourists of Nashville then.
Right, exactly. So Nashville is settling in. You know, it's been the state capital for about 50 years, and they are really trying to up their game. Like, I think that they see that, like, Atlanta has burnt. Like, don't doubt Nashville. Like, from the start, you know, Nashville is like, we are the Athens of the whichever direction you think we're facing. That's what we're the Athens of. But this was the time when they're like, we're going to have the Centennial. We're going to build, you know, what we have the Parthenon now. And actually, the Warners were really instrumental in saving Centennial Park. So it really was a time when if you were a rich person, you could really like put your vision of the city into place. And since the Warners were both, you know, they had this iron money, and then they were very much into, but I'll say this, poor Edwin is like, if you had like Mulder and Scully, Edwin is the Scully of the family. Even in his obituary, it's like Edwin Warner, beloved brother of Percy Warner, who did X and Y and Z. Like,
Edwin.
Oh, poor Edwin. He's just a park commissioner. But like, so you would right. But this is like Ben Allen. Ben Allen was too rich to have a job. So he was like, I make jewelry and go fishing. Edwin Warner was like, I make parks and then advocate for them. So,
I would love to meet a rich man these days who just wants to focus on parks and green spaces.
I know, right? I know.
I have to talk about East Nashville because I had no idea that actually they had their home here. It's called Renraw?
Yes. Warner backwards.
Warner backwards.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yes. And the house is still there. And it's basically on the campus of the old Nashville Auto Diesel College.
Right. So what kind of neighborhood was East Nashville back then?
Oh, back then it was very high end. And it would have seemed kind of like Belmead, like mostly the enormous lots people had,
gotcha.
Horses and animals. Like one of the things that the Warners did, like they were involved with the streetcars. And that would their innovation was, what if we put the streetcars on tracks instead of just having donkeys pull them around? Which then meant we need to improve the roads because right now all our roads are just mud paths through everything. I read an article in the Tennessean where the sex workers were complaining about how bad and muddy the roads were because they couldn't keep their skirts clean as they were street walking.
Wow. Muddy Nashville.
Yeah, we had a really bad reputation for being just very dirty. So I think when the Warners were like, what if we had streetcars that actually worked and could take you to lovely parks with grass? Your feet, your skirts would not necessarily get muddy. It's very exciting to people. There's also all the coal smoke, the massive amounts of pollution, just so much about being in town was really gross. So the idea that there would be these public spaces, you could go out and be in the fresh air, stuff could grow because the sun could actually penetrate, there's not the smog.
Wow.
So they live out in East Nashville on these big, basically palatial looking places. And Percy is the best. And that's not fair, but one is a stick in the mud and the other is hi, I'm Percy Warner. There's not a thing I don't do. I am we need more rich people like Percy because he's I'm just running around being an eccentric weirdo. I love parks. I named my daughter my exact same name. That's not confusing or anything. Everything about him is just this loads of ridiculousness. And I think I mentioned to you that for many years, he had a crane, a bird crane, named Rufus, who was a family member. There are multiple pictures at the Tennessee State Library and Archives of that bird just hanging out in the house, greeting people as they came in, having discussions with Percy about whatever. And I'm who among us, what rich people do we have that are what's a weird animal that I could pass off as a family member? We don't have that. We're being let down.
So I'm going to try to link these historic photos in today's show notes so y'all can check this out. There's a full family photo in front of their home with the crane right dead center, which is just outstanding to see. Just knowing then, we're talking about all these big names here in Nashville. So the Warners were so well connected, obviously.
Yes.
During that time, what other big prominent Nashville families were they in cahoots with?
Okay, I have to go back to my notes because it's everybody. Basically, okay, so Percy Warner was married to Margaret Lindsley, of like 3rd and Lindsley.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this street is named after her family.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So she is the great-granddaughter of Felix Grundy, who is like one of the most important early lawyers in the state and who was like law buddies with Andrew Jackson. Her grandfathers were Jacob McGavick, who owned Belmead, and Philip Lindsley. Her uncle was Randall McGavick,
Wow.
who looks like a handsome Muppet and is definitely the best looking mayor that Nashville has ever had. Hands down, best looking mayor. Sorry, Freddie, but like he's got this full shock of red hair, this Muppety beard. He's just great. And then he died in the Civil War, so serves him right. So her father was John Lindsley, Dr. John, who was present at the death of Andrew Jackson. He was chancellor of the University of Nashville. He was one of the founders of Montgomery Bell Academy, and he was, in a thing that is near and dear to my heart, that one of the founders of the Tennessee Historical Society.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I also, if you will indulge me, want to tell your listeners about Margaret's niece, also named Margaret, who is my absolute favorite rich person in history. So she was the first female sports writer for the Tennessean. And she wrote, you will not be surprised, she wrote about horses. And she was like a horse expert. If you ever get the chance to go back through old issues of the Tennessean, though, like she will tell stories about these people she was related to that are so funny and so insightful. And it is actually a story that she wrote where I first learned about Ben Allen running around being a secret, I guess not so secret, occultist. And so just like that treat of getting to like see the city through her eyes. And then she lived to be like 101 years old, never married, just like.
That's the secret.
Yeah, probably. Right? She's like, if I can't marry Rufus, I won't marry at all. But the family is just so well connected to everybody in Nashville and everybody, you know, who's wealthy. And they think they brought a kind of like fun eccentricity to the scene that I really love. I think it's very, very charming.
Nashville, are you ready to take the plunge for a really great cause? The Music City Polar Plunge for Special Olympics Tennessee is happening February 28th at Nissan Stadium, and we want you to take the leap. This one-of-a-kind fundraising event invites the bravest souls of Nashville to jump into icy cold water so athletes with intellectual disabilities can experience the joy of sports, teamwork, health programs, and year-round competition. So grab your friends and family and start a team together. Turn your courage into impact. And listen, if freezing water isn't your thing, you can still join and cheer on this year's plungers. It's going to be a full-blown party with food trucks and really good vibes. Every dollar raised helps support more than 18,000 Special Olympics Tennessee athletes across the state. Ready to make a splash for a life-changing cause? Register, donate, or learn more at polarplungetennessee.com. That's polarplungetennessee.com. Take the plunge, change a life. All right, so they moved from East Nashville to West Nashville, and Percy Warner was president of Nashville Railway and Light Company, which controlled the city streetcars. But what was behind this vision for developing Nashville, and why did he want to expand the streetcar lines so much to the outer neighborhoods?
So part of the first kind of like expansion of Nashville were these neighborhoods that grew up at the end of the streetcar lines, which is why I think one of the arguments for just going ahead and like putting the streetcars back in is that the city was built around them. So they still make sense, right? the way where the streetcars went is kind of like a perfect first step for where any kind of light rail should go. So you move out to the end of the streetcar line to your little like streetcar suburb, but then you need things to do while you're out there. You have to be able to recreate. And of course, they want to bring more people from downtown out. So they might also like buy property. And so, yeah, it was just a very like, what can we do to entice people out of downtown and put them in these larger homes on more land? So you can see, that like as the streetcars go up all along those streetcar lines, we start to see bigger houses. We see like, obviously Belmead and that area starts to blossom.
So there was a streetcar right down Belmead Boulevard. And then would that end where we have Percy Warner Park?
Yes.
Okay, well then, can you walk us through then how the Warner Parks themselves came to be?
So this is also a lovely scandal. It's not a scandal. It involves a scandal. So Percy Warner has 2 daughters. One marries Luke Lee, and then she dies. The other, named also Percy Warner, but with an IE, so she's a girl. She also marries Luke Lee. So Luke Lee, he was a senator. He was the owner of the Tennessean. He fought in World War I. And then he tried to kidnap the Kaiser, which, Nashville has a history of sending rich people on journeys to go like meddle, like we had William Walker who went to Nicaragua and tried to take over. So it's not that surprising that Luke Lee would be like, I'm not doing anything. He just got defeated. He's not doing anything. Let's go. This is also, though, part of the reason that there was such animosity between the Tennessean and the Banner in these early days is because Luke Lee was a bigot against Germans. And the Banner was owned by a German family. So anyway, so Luke tries to kidnap the Kaiser. That kind of falls through. And then in 1927, he and Percy donate the land for the Warner Parks and name it in honor of Percy and Edwin because of their roles in the park commissions. I do not know this as a fact, but considering that this happened in 27 and then in 37, he went to jail for financial shenanigans, I do wonder if the parks were like, let's move some property and some money around because I'm doing this shady banking stuff. But I know he didn't intend to go to prison about it. But, it seems a little weird to be like, I'm going to kidnap the Kaiser. Then I'm going to give this just massive amount of land to Nashville. And then, oops, I'm in prison now with my son.
Well, I have to circle back because somehow this strange man married both Percy Warner's daughters.
Yes.
Both of them. One after she passed away, then the other.
Yes.
How and why? And did no one think that was strange?
If you are very wealthy and you don't want any inheritance problems, and you don't want your children to have problems with their step-parent, marrying a sibling of your spouse actually makes a ton of sense. Real weird, but it makes a ton of sense.
Right.
And I think you would probably in this era find that a lot of Nashville rich people did that, because you do the stereotype of the wicked stepmother doesn't come out of nowhere. That was a thing that happened. It's whoa, I need to get rid of these older children because I want my children to inherit. But if everybody, when Percy with an IE marries Luke, those are her nieces and nephews, right? She's not going to try to kick them to the curb. She's going to take care of them because they are also her direct family. So it's a good way of assuring that the children get taken care of, the money doesn't leave, because also a lot of these, I'm not saying that they were not love matches, but a lot of them were love matches made with like monetary considerations. If two families have decided to merge their fortunes,
Right. They're going to keep it in the families.
they want to, yeah, exactly.
Right. That makes total sense. How then did these parks develop over time? How were they received? Did they have an opening day ribbon cutting?
Well, it seems like, from what I could tell, that they opened kind of soft launched because they didn't have names yet, right? So there was like a period of time when there were just some parks. And then Percy was like, I have a great idea. We should name them after my dad and uncle, which will then also conveniently end up being named after me. And Percy, also a big horse woman at this point, right? So a lot of the stuff that we know Percy Warner Park for, like the horse trails, the horse racing, all that stuff, seems to have come directly from Percy's influence, Percy with an IE. So that's kind of another interesting thing, is that even though these parks are named after these powerful, rich men, it does seem like almost immediately the women in the family were like, oh, we can play with our horses here. We'll take over.
We'll take
Don't
over.
mind us, right? So she kind of oversees, and also everybody's kind of dipping their toes into, like, oh, my friend is an architect. He's going to put up some walls. And my other friend is a master gardener, or has a servant who's a master gardener. We're going to put in all these plants. And so it really was, I think, at the time, like just this kind of extravagance, especially for a town as small at the time as Nashville, to just have all of this land set aside for nothing, basically, right? And especially as like the neighborhoods around the park start to get divided up into subdivisions. And even though like Belmead, obviously a very, very wealthy subdivision, it's still a big flex for the Lees to be like, oh, we don't need the money that would come from selling off this land. We can generously give it to the city. Also, we have so much power that we can make the city because also think about how far out those parks were from the city, right? Like it's just this like opulence that's almost hard to wrap our heads around now because we have cars. And then they put in this staircase that is right, like modeled on European stone staircases. They like put in the golf course, second golf course in the city. But one of the nice things about that then too, though, means that like a lot of the historical, almost bordering on archaeological stuff, it's still there, right? There are cemeteries throughout the parks. There are a couple of old farmhouses that are still there that the Parks Department has been working to, make sure that there's interpretive data and everything. And it's one of the few places where, because roads kind of move back and forth across road beds, but you can really get a feel for like what it was like to be out in the country then, and people still fish out there. It's really like, it is kind of a weird way of putting yourself in the heads of these people who otherwise are rich beyond our wildest imaginations, are living in a very different time. But you can go like, right, the parks they've been well maintained, obviously, very well maintained. But the changes that have been made other than to like expand their footprint have been like very minor. So when you're there, you are getting a sense for how Percy Warner, the daughter, thought a park that would honor her family should look.
Wow. That's really special to have here. I think we've come to our last question, but I have so many more questions to ask, but I'm just going to focus on this last one. I don't want to taint the Warners' legacy, two very wealthy, rich white men with power and influence. Now in the year 2026, do you think the wealthy are still in charge of shaping Nashville?
Oh, gosh, for sure.
What similarities do you see, Betsy?
Well, I mean, where to start? I think the fact that like you could have an individual who basically is like, I'll just take this corner of the county and make it exactly what I want is still a thing that, like, you know, clearly developers assume that they can have that. You know, look at Titan Stadium. That's not a consensus thing. That's one person's vision. Tony Giarratana has put up all these buildings downtown, really like remade how downtown Nashville looks. Not that there haven't been other high-rise developers, but he's the one who seems like every 3 years is like, let's build the tallest building in the Southeast. And it's like, didn't we just do that? Well, no, we got to go higher. So I think that that is still a way that rich people contribute. But like I said, like there was something like almost whimsical about these folks in a way that I feel like rich people are letting us down about, right? Because I think it would be, for me, a lot easier to take if, like, say, Cameron Sexton were like, yes, I rule your lives as the Speaker of the House. But here's my buddy Rufus. He's a cream. He's going to sit in on our meeting.
That would make it all okay. No.
I mean, it wouldn't make it all okay,
Right,
but I was saying, like...
Right. Well, you know, he's eccentric.
If Rufus came to press conferences...
Right.
I would at least pay attention to the press conferences, right?
Well, you don't think there's anything whimsical about Elon Musk burrowing under Nashville?
When you say it like that, it seems like it should be. But no, like now, if we get the Nazi River rampage, which, as you know, I have been advocating for at the Nashville scene, when it eventually floods, I believe that Opryland, whatever they're calling themselves now, those Grizzly River Rampage rafts are somewhere.
Ooh.
Right? They didn't get rid of them. They're somewhere.
That's
They're
right.
in a storage locker or
somewhere.
in somebody's basement, something. We go pull them out, put them in the flooded tunnel. It becomes the Nazi River Rampage. It's the only way I am ever going in that tunnel is if it is...
It's a celebration of old Opryland.
Yes.
I'm here for that.
Obviously, Nashville misses because we're always standing in line for no reason. Like, oh, pancake pantry, which is pancakes. Why are we lining up?
Right.
Because we miss lining up because it reminds us of Opryland.
Oh, I love that.
Right? Because also think about it. You could be underground in a car for the 10-minute drive or whatever it's going to be. Or you could be meeting other people who have come to town for fun because you're all in your 12 or 16 person round raft. You're having an adventure together. You're getting to know each other. Come into town after your little 12 or 15 minute river ride. And then you're like, you're ready. You've made the transformation from the airport into Nashville.
It's brilliant. It is brilliant. And we could have just a replica of Rufus there, and you have to be this tall to ride the ride, you know?
Right. See, no, Marie, this is brilliant. We are taking over. We need a rich person to sponsor our whimsy.
That's right. And maybe we'll throw in a park there as well. So if you're a very wealthy person here in Nashville and want to fund these ideas, email us at nashville@citycast.fm. Betsy, this really has been so much fun. Now I can go to those parks and actually know who I'm talking about. So thank you so much.
You are very welcome. And next time, seances with Ben Allen.
That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. And don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Nashville neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell your friends, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Toodles!